Hello guys, welcome back to another YouTube video here today. And we are going over my new Rafa build. It is the Slippy grenade spam build. So we are using the hot slugger mostly just to get up. So the hot slugger is here to get us out of situations when we're down, unless you ain't got nothing to get yourself up with. But the hot slugger, that's what the hot slugger is there for. So we're using that. Other than that, we're not using any other weapons in this build at all. So pretty much, you can pretty much use any weapon that works that does enough damage to get yourself up. Like if you wanted to use a wombo combo to get up, you probably could do that too. But I'm choosing to use the hot slugger for that. We also got a shiny variant, and then we are using mega the triple bypass, and this has 3 charges and has the grant 30%. Has a 30% replenish the charge on kill, which is pretty nice, especially for mobbing. And then we're using this also for the go gadget use. Grants increase ordnance cooldown rate by 50% for 10 seconds. Now the whole scheme of this build, this is the shiner right here. This is what we're all focused on here. So this is the atomic Slippy, and this is what the whole build is based on. So we're mostly just using spamming this grenade. And so nuke grenade damage is increased by 31%. Nuke grenade damage radius is increased by 62%. Grenade cooldown duration is increased by 25%. But we have our cooldown to 3 seconds. We got our cooldown really low. If we had another variant with like 11 seconds, we'd probably be at 0 seconds almost. But honestly, this one's really good because of the grenade damage radius. So it can hit flying enemies a lot better, and it also gives a 31% damage increase, and then the grenade cooldown duration is increased. But you get some big benefits from it, and you still can spam it pretty well. And then we're using the crackling Grinzerker. Whenever Rafa throws a grenade, our T-door weapon gun, he throws an additional one. We have a additional gun damage on this class mount, which always seems to come with it, and a ordnance cooldown rate bonus. We have 5 points and ordnance and confetti, and then we have 5 points in the I forgot the name of it. 3 points in the other one. We'll go over that in a minute, anyways. And then we're using the maneuverable heavyweight shield. So this is the bare knuckle. A melee hit consumes an armor segment to grant 100% melee damage. When armor shield is empty, grants 50% melee damage. So either way, we're getting more melee damage from this, which is boosting our grenade even more. And then we have flanking, grants up to 25% movement speed, scaling with broken armor segments. And then we're using this for the splash damage. The manufacturer don't matter really too much. We're using this for the splash damage. So we have a gun splash damage, 25% increase, a sniper rifle splash damage increase, and a gun status effect damage increase. And this grenade is actually receiving all the bonuses because of the specializations that we're using. And then we're gonna go over gadget. We're using 2 gadget ahoy. The first gadget ahoy reduces the cooldown by 15%. And then the second one increases ordnance damage by 20%. And then we're using 2 real big fists. Melee damage is increased by 25%. And then the next one is an additional 25%. So that's a 50% melee damage increase right there. And then we're using 1 action fist. Melee damage is increased by 25%. So in total here, we are getting a 75% melee damage increase, plus a 20% ordnance cooldown damage increase, because that goes towards this. So that's actually a 95% increase all across the board right here. And while the shield's full, that's actually 195% damage melee increase when the shield is full. When it's not full, I would have to do the math on that because that's a little bit more finicky with the numbers there. But the 100% is easy. 50 plus 95. It's 145% damage increase when the shield is empty from melee. So this is either getting 195% damage increase or a 145 plus this 31. So really, it's like well over 200 damage boost when the shield is full, which is pretty insane. Even without that shield being full, we're still pretty close to like one. We were at like 176% on damage increase, even when the shield's not full. It's pretty insane damage. So that is the firmware and the equipment that we're using for this build. Now let's go over the skills. So this is the bread and butter of this. So we're putting 5 points in here. So 5 points in here. Rafa gains increased gun damage and melee damage. So the gun damage 15%, melee damage is increased by 45%. Then we're putting 5 points in dial in. Whenever Rafa damages an enemy with a melee attack, his melee attack gains a critical hit chance. This chance stacks, and all stacks are removed whenever Rafa critically hits an enemy. So your grenades they're all just gonna be critically hitting like crazy. Because they are melee. And then we put here until we get some damage steel. And the rest of these skills really aren't that too great. So personally, we're using 5 points in here. In solder, health restoration, 30% of damage dealt. So we get health toward 30% of the damage that is dealt. And then we're using Elo Cargus. Rafa gains increased splash damage and splash damage critical hit chance, which is our grenade. So that gives our grenade an extra critical hit chance because it does splash damage. So, which is pretty powerful. It really helps out a lot. And then we were using the Thunder Cutter for this. Attacks made by Arcanite deal shock melee splash damage and gains increased radius. Rafa gains increased splash damage. So the whole reason we're only using this, we're not really even using the Arcanites at all. We're literally just using this for the splash damage increase. This is the only reason we're using this. And then we put 2 points in here. Whenever Rafa deals splash damage, deals bonus shock damage based on the damage dealt. So you get bonus shock damage based on the damage dealt. And we're getting an insane boost. So we're doing insane shock damage. We're getting 16% of it, but it's insane. Insane shock damage. And then we come here. Rafa gains increased ordnance cooldown rate. So we have 5 in here. So we have 30% cooldown rate. You only need 1 in here. Whenever Rafa critically hits an enemy, he gains a chance to spawn a green grenade. Equip Rafa's grenade is based on the grenade equip. So it will spawn the Slippy. When you throw the grenade, it's going to spawn a Slippy and it has a 10% chance of spawning the extra grenade. And it seems to, even if it is a 10%, since we're throwing 2 of them, it seems to be pretty often. If I'm going to be honest, it seems to spawn quite a few of them. And then we got 1 point in here. The class mod's putting the rest of it. So whenever Rafa deals ordnance damage, he also deals increased gun damage and melee damage that affects stacks. So we're getting 8% gun damage per stack, 16 melee damage per stack. So this is also boosting our build a lot more here. So we are getting a lot of damage from that. And then we come over here where we put 5 points in Sitter. Rafa gains increased gun damage. And then whenever Rafa critically hits enemy, his action skills irritation is restored. Since we're not really using the action skill. We're not really using the action skill, but I don't really see any other use in these skills. This grenade, like this skill, I don't really see any use of it because if shield breaks, the grenade's gonna spawn on you and you're just gonna die. That's all that's gonna happen. The Slippy's just gonna kill you. This whenever Rafa action skill, activate action skill. See, we're not even activating the action skill. That doesn't do any good. Overdrive doesn't do any good. Skill skill, shield restore of maximum health. That doesn't really. We don't really need that. And then Rafa deals increased damage from all sources. The fuller Rafa's shields are. That doesn't really seem that beneficial. Anyways, we're using damage reduction while overdrive is active. Put 2 points in there. So if we do want to use overdrive and like, because I do sometimes use it during mobbing. We do use the action skill sometimes during mobbing. I do sometimes use it during those points, but most of the time we're just kind of spamming the grenade. That's the whole point. So we're putting 2 points in here. The overdrive gives us 14% damage reduction, and then we put 3 points in here for 27% skill damage, and then we have 5 points in here plus 5 with the Rafa's ordnance deals bonus damage in his current gun's element. So the bonus damage here with 5 extra points is 80%. So we're getting an 80% ordnance damage increase. It's also getting the gun damages increased that we have, and the melee damage is increased. So it's just getting all kinds of boosts, right? So we come in here. We only put 10 in Survivor. We put 10 in Brute. 20 in Runner. So what we're using, and ignore this 50. We just leveled up a lot with the character on the specialization. So you won't be able to get this much. At least you got to at least put 20 in here to at least get down here. And 20 in here. So what you're going to want to do here is we're going to use Groundbreaker. Gun, action, skill, and ordinary damage is stored. Melee attacks and slam damage deal bonus kinetic melee damage based on stored damage and consume it. So basically, this, when we throw the grenade and it stacks up with tons of damage inside the enemy, stores the damage inside the enemy. When we go up and melee him, it's going to do a ridiculous amount of damage. But the issue with that is you can get away sometimes though without killing yourself, but a lot of time you do end up downing yourself and having to up yourself. And then we have melee damage now benefits from increases the gun damage. So melee damage 50% of increases the gun damage, which is our grenade. And then we're using these two down here. Ordnance damage now benefits from increases to gun damage, 50% of increases to gun damage. So our ordnance is receiving 50% of the gun damage benefits and 50% from the melee. So it's benefiting 100% from gun damage per ordnance with these two. So it's benefiting a total of 100%. And then we're going to have fragment payload. We're using fragment payload. Ordnance gains a critical hit chance on an enemy. Also gains increased critical hit damage. So ordnance critical hit chance is 5%. Ordnance critical hit damage is 50%. So that is the Rafa Slippy spam build. I hope you guys enjoy this video. It took me a while to actually optimize this build and get it to work properly, but I hope you guys enjoy this build. It is a whole lot of fun just throwing a Slippy grenade, and I appreciate you guys watching these videos. Hope you guys come by on the streams. We also stream on Twitch. I don't really have a stream schedule, but make sure you go follow me down in the description below. I'm live on Twitch all the time, just not consistent, but I am live. I usually live at night, and I'll probably be live tonight around probably like 11 EST. If you guys want to come in and check out the stream, I will be on tonight, and I hope you guys enjoy this build, and the save file will be in the Discord, in which the description to all that will be down below. And also, don't forget, we are doing a Borderlands 4 mousepad giveaway. So if you want to enter that, the video to that will be in the description below. Peace out, guys.